Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for making it down tonight. It is a pleasure to see so many happy faces, I'm going to say, in the room tonight. First of all, can I just get a big round of applause for the first viewing of How I Failed in Business live, if that's okay, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! Now, it is fantastic to be here as part of the Leicester Business Festival's 10th year running. This is the third event we've put on with the Leicester Business Festival this last month, actually. So it's really, really nice to see essentially a bit of a close coming to the end. Quick show of hands, who here has been to some of the Leicester Business Festival events so far? Fabulous, so you all sort of know the format somewhat. Hopefully this one's going to be a little bit different and a little bit entertaining for you. Now, for those fortunate enough to not know me, my name is Connor. I work here with Paragon Sales Solutions and I'll be opening and closing your event tonight. So don't worry, you don't have to listen to me talk for too long. But I would like to introduce our fabulous guest speaker tonight. Barry Pierpoint is an amazing, amazing man. By the age of 21, he had 6 petrol stations and had over 40 staff. Since then, he's become the CEO of Leicester City Football Club. Those of you might have heard of that one. And since then, has moved on to become a business management consultant. And we are very blessed to have him here tonight. So without further ado, if I could welcome to the stage the amazing, the one, the only Barry Pierpoint.
Tonight, Matthew, I want to be Martin O'Neill. Hope you don't mind if I sit down because I'm too big, and if I jump up and down, I go straight through the ceiling. Anyway, thank you very much for coming this evening, and thank you very much for being here. This is, of course, part of the Leicester Business Festival and How I Failed in Business. I know it's going to be quite a great evening because we've got all sorts of things happening. We've got lots of prizes, a bit of fun, some laughter, and who knows what might happen. I want to just talk a little bit about my time in 40 years in business because I'm not going to bore your pants off you. I'm going to go quick thumbnail sketch of my life. And listen very carefully because I've got some books to give away. There's my book up there, Minding My Own Football Business. I've got 6 books to give away, and I'm going to be asking a few questions during the course of the evening. Anybody who gets one of the answers right can have one a free book, and I'll sign it for you as well. Okay? Right, so just to start off then, I was born in Nottingham, and I went to Nottingham Trent University as a student. Whilst I was a student at 21, I set up filling stations, and I ended up with 6 within 12 months and 40 staff. So that was a good start to my life. From there, I started my own publishing company doing magazines. That was county magazines and glossy business magazines. That was bought out by Robert Maxwell. Anybody remember Robert Maxwell? He was a media tycoon in the 80s and I think it was 90s as well. And he bought the business. So from there, I then set up, I went on to buy an advertising marketing PR agency in Leicester. A full-service agency. I created it. It was loss-making when I bought it, and I had it for about 4 or 5 years, and we turned it into a profit. Going back to my days at Leicester City, for those of you who remember from my time there in the 90s, I was one of the first marketing directors in professional football. So quite an interesting journey, I may say, because I came from Somerset, where I was working down there as a managing director of a consultancy business. And Leicester wanted a first professional marketing director, and I say I was one of the first to go into football on that role. When I joined Leicester, it was almost bankrupt. It was turning over about £1 million at the time in the early 90s and losing about 2. Those of you who know me, my time at Leicester City was quite successful. We had our own branding, Fox Leisure. We did a lot of stuff in the community. We took the business in 10 years that I was there from a £2 million business right up to nearly 26 million. And when I left in 2000, it was a £3 million profit. And we've done lots of things. I won't go into great detail because I'll be here all night. But the club was a huge success. It was in the Premiership. And I think it was basically a good platform for the next batch of people to come in and take the club on. Because when I got there was no money. It was owned by 7 families. And really, it was it was difficult, but we managed to get a lot of businesses to come join us, a lot of communities and a lot of other organisations and sponsorships. And I introduced Gary Lineker to Walker's Crisps, and that's how you made a fortune out of that, and I never got a penny out of it. Anyway, I now run my own management consultancy business, and I work with various clients around the Midlands. I also have a publishing company which publishes autobiographies for former football players and managers as well. And I'm also a non-exec director of several businesses in the Midlands. And I was a non-exec director of Glenfield Hospital NHS Trust and also Leicester Sound Commercial Radio Station when I used to live and work in Leicester. Right, so that's a bit about my background, and I just bear in mind some of the things I've said because I'm going to ask a few questions, and if anybody gets the answers right, you can have one of my books for free. Can I talk about some of the lighter side of my business now? Now, if anybody's got a nervous disposition or if anybody's on tablets, I suggest you sort of take them now because I'm going to tell you some funny things about my time at Leicester, some rude ones as well at that. So, here we go. Does anybody mind me telling me some of these sort of stories? Are you okay with that? And if anybody's against it, tell me and I won't do it. Okay? It's surprising at a football club exactly what you actually do come across. Did anybody ever go to Filbert Street in the old ground there? You did? Good. Okay. So in the old stadium at Filbert Street, and I loved at Filbert Street, I did. It was lovely. We built the carling stand there. We bought the carling stand, built it, cost us £7 million. I raised that with my team of people, and we paid for it within 3 years because everything that we did was very successful and highly profitable. So in the carling stand, there was a long corridor where all the executive boxes were, and the boxes face onto the pitch, and then you sit outside and watch the game. So one particular day, as the CEO there, I was a marketing director for a couple of years, and I was a CEO for the rest of the time there. I was walking down the corridor, and you know where the corridor is because you worked there. I heard a noise in a cupboard. It was a very strange noise. It was a banging noise against the actual door. So as the CEO, I thought I'll have a little walk down there and see what's going on because I can hear this banging noise against the door. And I think it was a stockroom actually. So I stood there and listened to this banging noise against the door, and I thought, well, I better open it and see what's inside and what's going on. So I opened it, and two people fell out, virtually naked. And I said to the bar manager, I said, excuse me, I said, what are you doing? He said, he's got a lady in there with him, and there's obviously himself, and said that all the clothes are around the ankles. And he said, we're stock taking. And I said, I think it looks like more like cock taking. And I said to him, come on down to my office when you've finished, and we'll have a little chat, both of you. So that was an amazing situation. I'm glad no customers or clients or fans were down there at the time, otherwise they'd have opened the door and they'd have had the pleasure of that situation. Another time, Martin George was the chairman, and he owned Weetabix, his family did, and he owned a few other businesses in Northamptonshire. He was my chairman at the time. Difficult chap to get on with because he had a plum in his mouth and he had never done a day's work in his life, and he used to live off the back of the family who were very rich. Anyway, one Monday morning he called me to his office and he said, Pierpoint, because he used to call me Pierpoint, he didn't call me Barry, he used to call me Pierpoint, come upstairs. So I went upstairs into his office. His office was actually at the top of the stairs on the landing near where one of the function rooms were. And he said to me, what's that in my drawer? Now, can somebody give me an answer to think what you thought that might be in the drawer before I give you the answer? What do you think when he opened the drawer? He said, what's that in my drawer? What do you think it was in there? Anybody? Come on. Correct. He said, what's that in my drawer? And I replied very instantly, shit. A fine turd, Chairman. He said, what's that doing in my drawer? And I said, I've no idea. And who's painted those horns on my picture on the wall? Because he's got his picture on the wall in some of the places. He's got somebody painted horns. What we didn't realise was his office was left unlocked that night. On the Sunday night, there was a function on the Sunday night. I think it was a sports club come up there. Clearly had a walk round at the function room, went into his office, and then I decided to have a good old rummage around. And somebody had dropped a dollar in his drawer, and he was very sort of surprised to see it. But that's the sort of thing that you wouldn't expect to find in a normal business. But again, it's a football club. This is an interesting one, because one morning I came in. By the way, we did clear the shit up, and we did take the horns off his pictures, by the way. I came in one morning, and the security staff told me they'd had a burglary in the night. I thought, a burglary in the night? We've got cameras everywhere in Filbert Street. We've got security people walking around all through the night and all through the day. So I questioned, how can we have security staff walking around, patrolling, and cameras through the thing, and a burglary? And I was told there was a disappearance of all the wines, spirits, and the beers from all the bars and the stockroom in the middle of the night. Well, that's quite incredible, really, when you think you've got staff walking around doing a job of securing it. And we also had cleaners through the night as well there at Filbert Street. And so I said, well, let's have a look at the cameras and see how the stock disappeared. And I was told that the cameras weren't working. Nowhere was the cameras working. In fact, we found they'd been switched off. So nobody had broken into the club. It was an inside job, and thousands of pounds worth of stock was stolen. And that would happen through one night. Incredibly amazing. Somebody was very daring there. So do you know what I did? I guess what I did. What would you do? If you're in charge of a football stadium and somebody's just nicked thousands of pounds worth of your stock, what would you do? I certainly did. But nobody could give me an answer, for the simple reason was the cameras weren't working. And the people during the course of that night who were working didn't know why the cameras weren't working. And the people in the daytime who were there before they were at the night time, they didn't know they was working. So what I did was I fired all the security staff and brought some new ones in and started again, because that was an internal job of people doing a naughty, nicking all that stuff. Luckily we were insured, so we got some of the money back. One of the most embarrassing situations at Leicester City, I really did have a difficult time with. We had a sporting dinner, and football clubs tend to have these sporting dinners. You have guest speakers. We had George Best and Rodney Marsh as guest speakers. And they have their own little green room where they go and sit and drink and enjoy themselves and that before they come into the main room where all the guests are. I had 500 guests that night, different corporates, waiting to hear these two characters talk about their life. They don't normally come after the meal. They come and have a meal with us, and then they sort of talk about their time and their life. Anyway, when they came, we all clapped them in, and everybody was looking forward to hearing these two clowns tell their life story. When they came in, they went to the stage, they sat on the chairs, and they fell off the chairs, and there was giggling, and there was pissed out the brains. So we couldn't get anything out of these two characters. These 500 guests were not impressed, and I thought, Christ almighty, what am I going to do now? Luckily, the manager at the time was Mark McGee, and he said to me, I'll do a talk, and I'll talk about my career. I said, that'll take about 10 minutes then, Mark. and he did. He talked about his career, some amusing stories in football. And we had to get rid of the two players, Bestie and Marsh, and get rid of them because obviously they were an embarrassment. And their agent rang me the next few days to say, you owe us about £6,000. And I said, no, you owe me about £6,000. And I told them what happened. And they said, well, they still turned up. I said, yeah, but they didn't perform. Anyway, they never got any money out of us and they didn't sue us. So that was a most difficult thing because 500 guests, you imagine having 500 guests at a function and those two characters. And it reminded me also about when Botham and Lamb came. They were supposed to come on at a sporting dinner and come on about after the meal. And they rang up and said to me, oh, by the way, tonight we're coming early. We want to do the talk and go. We're going to Birmingham after that for another do. I said, hang on a minute, we booked you for after the meal, not before. And they said, well, they're coming to do it before the meal, or we're not coming at all. So they held us to ransom, and they came and did their little thing there. Anyway, that's a bit of back football. There's a lot more in my book, and there's a lot more stories I could tell you. If you want to sit and talk about my life at Leicester City, I can tell you all sorts of things, because I met some interesting people. I met the Beckhams, I met royalty, I met all sorts of managers, I met everybody, but that's another time. When I had my advertising agency, and you tend to find you sometimes get late payers or bad payers, I had one particular lady, and she was a terrible payer. And she wouldn't pay her bills, and I don't know how much she owed us, but it was a lot of money. Anyway, she kept giving my accounts manager and my finance director all sort of excuses. And I'm sure you've all had a dose of excuses from people not paying the bills. And it went on for a few months. So I said to her, look, I tell you what, I'm going to come round to your office. I'm going to bring the media with me, and I'm going to stand naked outside your premises with a banner right across my nuts saying who you are, how much you owe me, how long you've owed me, and I'm going to make sure that everybody knows that you owe me a bad debt. I said, I'll be around tomorrow, so if you can make sure that I can get in, and I'll come around with my banner, and I'll take all my clothes off. And I said to her, have you ever seen a beach whale naked before? She says, no. So she said, oh, don't do that. I said, why not? I said, I'm up for it. She said, well, I'm not. So, and she paid me there and then. She put the money in the bank. So if anybody wants a debt collector with a difference, it's me. Anyway, I've got the signal now to shut up. So that's my 10 minutes gone. So I've got lots more to talk about, but that's later on. So thank you for listening to me. During the course of my next session, when I come out again in a bit, I'm going to just put a couple of questions to you, and anybody who gets the questions right, you've already got my book anyway. I've got some books there to give to people. So enjoy the rest of the evening. I'll see you all later. And now I want you to put your hands together, a big round of applause, a big cheer, and a big rousing stamp your feet for Sophia Grace and Rob Spence.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. There we go. Sophia, how are you?
I'm here. I'm good.
She's here. She's got a mic. Guys, girls, and everyone, thank you so much. That is a lot of smoke. That is. I just want to make clear we are not legally responsible for any asthma attacks, anything else in between. So please, if you need to leave, do so now. But Sophia, how great is it so many people turned up tonight?
So great. I'm slightly nervous, but I'm happy that you're all here, and I don't want that to be overshadowed.
You've absolutely smashed today. So there's so many faces in the room who are known to us. I would class them as friends. I would class them as dear colleagues who know everything about how I failed in business. Show of hands, and I'm not going to be offended. How many of you have listened to the How I Failed in Business podcast?
You can put your hand up because we can't check.
Yeah. I've noticed, actually, some of our colleagues haven't listened to it, so we need to raise that.
That's fine, because you took their phone out of their hand and made them subscribe anyway.
Quick marketing strategy. If you want to grow a podcast and grow a podcast quick, get everyone's phones that you know, go on Spotify and click that follow button. They've got no choice. Exactly. They've got no choice. But if you've not listened to the How I Failed in Business podcast, it's a podcast that sprung about the start of the year.
Yeah, Feb, when I joined the business.
You did, yeah. So there was an idea for a podcast, and Sophia unwillingly joined the business around February, and we ran some promos, some little trials, just to see. Look, we needed co-host. Show of hands, who's sick of seeing and hearing Rob Spence around? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Connor, you did that too fast. Just I know I needed someone to kind of really back me up and take any kind of content that we do to the next step. And Sophia smashed it. Aww. And here we are. So thank you very much, Sophia, for joining me.
Thank you. And he's a man that loves to sing his own praises, but I'll sing them as well. Great co-host to me.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I can tell you've had some Prosecco. But if you've not checked it out, please do go ahead and do so. Tonight is a culmination of all the work we've put in over the past, is it 9 months?
9 months,
9
yeah.
months, give or take. We put the podcast together, and if you have seen the podcast, you have seen a massive increase in the detail we've put into production. Can you remember the first episodes we put together?
Yes, unfortunately. And sorry to those guests. I know Lisa Tennant sadly couldn't make it this evening.
No.
But the first episode we ever did, where I broke out in hives because I was so nervous, and you got so much back sweat on the chair.
Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't notice.
Well, it's on it now again.
So we used to use these plastic chairs, and I'd stand up and I kid you not, beads, absolute beads. But yeah, we started the podcast and we had no idea what we were doing. We had a horrible little mic. Do you remember that old microphone we used to
It was
use?
a horrible Yeti mic, which if any of you know is the complete wrong diffuser mic to use.
Complete wrong mic to have. And do you know what? Despite the poor equipment we had, the poor production, we had some great guests. There are some guests that have been on the show that are in the room today. So I'd like to give a shout out. I can see Matt Glover taking a photo of us right now. Everyone turn around and give
He's
Matt a
trying to
little
hide
wave.
out of the building.
Give Matt a little wave. Well done, Matt. So Matt, yeah, well done, Matt.
Nice.
Matt was not only a great guest for us, and probably the one that probably caused us the most controversy. We won't go into
that.
We won't go into why. But Matt has got a fantastic book out, a good cookery book out called Where the
Fuck is my dining
Table. It's positioned directly here. Matt's brought some signed copies for you all to buy from his car boot later on. So if they should be there and available. But we've had Matt. Is anyone else been in the room? Samuel, another great guest. Big round of applause for Samuel, please.
And of course, you might not recognise him from his episode because he did have a bag on his head for a considerable amount of it. But Steph Wardle is here.
Steph, give us a round of applause, please, Steph. I tell you what, so we don't tell the story, I would like Steph to tell the story. Lucy, can we hook Steph up with a microphone? So, Steph, you've become known on some of our platforms as Captain Baghead.
Testing.
Is there? Tell it why. Why did you wear a bag on your head? What was going on?
Well, because you gave me the task of... the game was for me to give you 2 lies and 1 truth, something like that.
Yeah, 2 truths and a lie.
Yeah.
2 truths and a lie. Yeah. So, but I'm a terrible liar, so I just knew that if I started saying the lie, my face would be all twitchy and weird, and you'd guess. And so I was at home thinking, how am I going to get through this? I thought, well, I could cover my hands, or how can I hide my face? And I turned around and saw like a Christmas penguin bag on the floor. I thought, I'll just stick that on my head. So I brought it with me, not intending to use it really, but I thought, but at the time I just thought, yeah, I'll get it out and put it on.
And then you got the bag ready. And and it was so, because do you remember he came in as like this great surprise for you?
And my favourite thing was you didn't find it funny at all, which was fantastic. And it made
Me?
it more hilarious.
No,
yeah.
I was dead serious. It was like,
Yes,
I
you
wanted
were.
to win the game.
And you did, I believe.
You've won it forever. And if you've not seen that episode, head on over to YouTube, look at some of the shorts that we've done, because Sophia and I are just in hysterics while Steph is taking it so deadly seriously, isn't he? It's been unreal.
Yes, indeed. But that format is something that we thought we'd explore a little bit more. And it's something that we thought we would play with all of you guys. So there's a game that we like to play, if you have listened to the podcast, which obviously you all have. It's a game called Fail or Fiction.
Shall we play it now?
Shall we play it now?
Well, for us to play Fail or Fiction, I think we can't know the answer.
We can't know the answer, and we would never cheat.
No, we wouldn't. And it'd be nice if we had a games master, someone that could like control the stage,
Someone with a lot of experience, perhaps, in public speaking.
someone that's willing to get his nuts on show for debt collecting, maybe. Can I please welcome back to the stage Barry Pierpoint? So, just to explain the game, it's very simple, and if anything, it's a complete knockoff of Would I Lie to You, okay? Don't tell anyone that, but it is. We're going to play 2 truths and a lie. Now, you may have all received an email from me earlier on this week.
Yeah,
Maybe.
2 weeks ago.
little while ago, asking you for some stories. I want to hear the mishaps. The thing that we talk about on the podcast a lot is where things go wrong in business. Because
business success is boring. It's so boring.
It is boring. We all mess up. We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
We all make boo-boos. We all, get scammed out by some guy to buy Amazon gift cards. We all, find a poo in our drawer, I think. Things go wrong. Things go wrong as business owners. And we've got to talk about those. We've got to celebrate those. We've got to learn from them. So by us sharing those stories, it brings highlight to those adventures. So Barry, you've been armed and primed with these 3 stories.
Yeah.
So our game is we've got to pick out the lie. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Barry, over to you.
Here we go with story number 1. When in the office, I was making myself a coffee, as you do, and I go to get the milk out of the fridge and start pouring my milk when I hear my co-worker gasp. I thought I was pouring milk into my coffee, but actually my co-worker's tomato soup. Safe to say, she was not impressed.
Nice. Okay, story number 2, Barry.
When working in recruitment, I was recruiting for an industrial welder. I'd finally found someone with more experience than I had ever seen. Seemed great on paper, but obviously you can't ask people ages, but when he turned up, he was 78. We shouldn't laugh at 78. I'm nearly 90. Was very weak, but fortunately couldn't lift the welding tools, and fair to say I didn't get any further recruitment business from this company. Third one?
Please do.
I'm in the office and I'm all flustered as I'm late for a meeting. At our office we have glass meeting rooms, and while in my rush I walked straight into a glass meeting room and there was an important client in there. I was absolutely mortified.
Okay, so we've got those 3 stories there, and shall we get the audience to maybe help us out?
Shall we?
with this?
Okay, so let's top level these 3 stories. So we've got messing with someone else's stuff in the kitchen in front of them. We've got hiring the wrong person for the job when you're in recruitment. And we've got walking into a glass door when there's a meeting taking place.
It's a tough one. Any of those are doable. Have I ever told you about the story that I made a whole group of executives a round of tea and a round of coffee without boiling the kettle? I have. Did I talk about that on the podcast? So here's the story, right? I'm a young whippersnapper, which I still am, some would argue.
Some would argue not.
Thanks, guys, thanks. These executives come to meet my boss, and he's like, Rob, can you make the teas and coffees? I'm like, boss, I'm on this. I'm the best tea and coffee maker you could ever ask for. I've got this down to a T. Making the teas and coffees. Bear in mind, that was about 4. I had 4 tasks to do, okay? 4 mugs. Make these drinks, take them upstairs, get yelled at the second I walk out, hadn't even boiled the kettle, poured cold water straight into tea, coffee, I think one was a peppermint tea. So I think number 1 could be a goer.
Could be true. I would say...
Sorry, go.
Our workplace, we're a tight-knit group. Thank you guys for being here. But maybe the number 1 argument we all have is who's left those mouldy raspberries in the fucking fridge?
Whose were they?
Lucy's. Who's left the milk to go off? Whose is that? I think people are so bloody precious about their food and drink. I think absolutely you could make a mistake.
But would you pour? If I'm right, Barry, someone poured tomato soup.
Pour milk into tomato soup.
Okay, show of hand. Who thinks that that's a true story? No one.
Not a soul.
No one.
Not a soul.
No one. Isaac's laughing. Can we mic Isaac up? Why do you think that that's not a true story, Isaac?
I just thought the other 2 were true.
Okay. So keep the mic. So go through story 2 again for us, Barry.
Yes, when working recruitment, I was recruiting for an industrial welder. I finally found someone with more experience than I'd ever seen. Seemed great on paper, but obviously you can't ask people their ages. But when he turned up, he was 78. Was very weak, but unfortunately couldn't lift the welding tools, and fair to say I didn't get any further recruitment business from this company.
I will say, while Isaac has the microphone, he used to work in recruitment. So, does he perhaps have an inside job here where he knows that one of the stories might be true?
No comment.
Oh no, have we just revealed it? Isaac, can you just put us out of our misery? Is that a true story?
Yeah, that's a true story.
Oh, round of applause for Isaac. Hold on, no. Microphone back. So what happened? Tell us a story.
I was recruiting for this job, but purely over the phone, and this guy just seemed so lovely. He was the nicest guy in the world.
Sweet old man.
He was desperate for work. I said afterwards, it kind of gave it away, because every time I hung up the phone, he said, 2 hours for now.
Oh, thanks for sharing the story, though, Isaac. Thanks for sharing. So we're now down to the 2 stories.
We've cut our odds down to 50-50.
So let's move on to remind us of the 3rd story, please, Barry. Let's have a little.
Story number 3. I'm in the office and I'm all flustered as I'm late for a meeting. At our office, we have glass meeting rooms, and whilst in a rush, I walked straight into a glass meeting room, and there was an important client in there. I was absolutely mortified.
Show of hands, who thinks that's a true story? Oh, nearly all of the room. Okay, I'm going to pick on... So show of hands, keep your hands up, keep those hands up. Samuel, I'd like to pick on you. Lucy, can we mic Samuel up there a second? Without revealing if this is your story or not, Samuel, why do you think that's a true story?
I just think it's a fairly everyday thing to do. It would happen.
An everyday thing to do, Samuel?
It's the kind of thing that would happen to me a lot.
Okay, I'm suddenly become cautious of the glass ceilings and the glass walls we've got around here.
I'm going out that way.
Yeah, we'll open it first. Who else? Any other comments on that last story? So why don't you think that the tomato story is a true story? Show of hands. Who wants to give a comment on that one? Michael at the back. Michael is pondering. I want to give Michael some mic time. Hey, Michael, thanks for coming.
Hi, Rob.
Hello. So, do you not think that the tomato soup, is that right, Barry? Tomato soup? So, do you not think that's a true story?
I mean, it's plausible, but the other one sounds more plausible, right? Samuel's right. You walk into doors all the time.
What? Is this a thing?
You do.
Do we have
We've had to look how big the pull on that door is. You think people don't walk into doors all the time?
Do you know what? I was trying to push it earlier as well. Idiot. So show of hands then. Shall we get a show of hands?
Shall we?
So if you think the tomato soup being poured into a drink, I think I've understood that correctly, is a true story, show of hands, I'm going to do it. I think it is. Okay, about 4 people.
Contrarian. Okay, walking into the glass door, true. Overwhelming.
Okay. What are we going to lock our answer in on?
Well, we've got to go with the majority, surely.
I'm happy to go with the majority.
Yeah?
So, Barry, can we get you loaded up with the answer? I think we got the answer down there. Connor, a bit of a drum roll, please, ladies and gentlemen. Barry, can you please reveal to us, what story you have on your card?
This is the fake story. When in the office, I was making myself a coffee, as you do, and I do get to the milk out of the fridge and start pouring my milk. When I hit my co-worker grasp, I thought he was pouring milk into my coffee, but actually my co-worker's tomato soup. Safe to say she was not impressed. That is a fake story. Fake news.
Oh, well done, everyone. You got it all right. Round of applause. Well, I'm shit at that game.
I will say, the only thing that caught me is that Caitlin had tomato soup 3 days ago, and I thought, is this a story that I've just somehow not heard that happened in our office?
There's been worse things that's gone on in our office that I might share later on. Well, look, Barry, you're on the stage. You gave a talk at the start there, which was incredible. Fantastic. Great start to the show, right? From Barry. Round of applause for Barry, please. Now, I know Barry's going to give some of his books away, Minding My Own Football Business. Great book. Has anyone in the room read it at all? Yes, of course you have. Leicester City fans in the room, show of hands, please. Yes, amazing, fantastic. Whether you like football, whether you like Leicester City, it's a fantastic read. There's lots of great business lessons. But mastermind style, we'd like to put you in the hot seat for a minute, if that's okay, Barry. We'd like to ask you some questions. Fantastic. Well, I'll let you. Have you got your cue card?
Yes.
Look how professional we are. Look at this. Professional. Absolutely. We will take some questions, so have a think about what you can ask Barry whilst he's in the hot seat.
So
over to you.
I was about to start by saying we won't exclusively talk about your time at Leicester City, because I think you've done very interesting things.
Big part of my life.
But I read my first question. What's your fondest memory of your time at Leicester City?
I think the fondest memory for me was opening the Carling stand, because those who went to Filbert Street could remember the whole place was a shithole. And, I went to an office in the members' stand the day I started on April the 2nd, 1991. And I had David Pleat's old office. And David Pleat's old office was the size of a toilet. There was no windows in there. And there was a light bulb hanging from the ceiling. There was a dead plant in the corner. And my table had a brick under one of the legs to keep it upright. And that's the sort of welcome I got as the new marketing director. My office was also next door to the kitchen. And I could smell gas coming underneath the floor, because there was a leak of gas next door. But whilst I was in that office, I had several phone calls from strange women. And I didn't know why I was getting these strange phone calls, because they were saying naughty things to me on the phone, and I was getting quite worried. I'd only been there about 3 days. And then I realised, I was told afterwards, that that was David Pleat's old office, and people who know David Pleat, he used to go curb crawling, and people used to ring him up and make their appointments for him to go and see them. Anyway, that's another story. So, building the Carling stand was the best thing in my life for my job, because raising 7 million quid to not just myself but my team to open a new stand, and you've got to admit that Carling stand was the state of the art. It was 9,300 seater, 28 boxes, God knows how many function rooms, and you remember this, don't you, because you worked there when I was there. So it was the state of the art, and that Carling stand paid for itself in 3 years. It was due to pay for itself in 7. We got it paid for in 3. It was a shame it was pulled down, but there you are. It was a fantastic facility. A lot of people came to see how we were so successful. I mean, we turned £3.5 million worth of catering over in that stand. And we also did about £3.5 million on the actual shop as well. And then all the sponsorships and things, the commercial revenue in there was nearly on 10 million quid. When I went there, it was about $250,000. So, we did a lot of stuff in that stand. But that was my moment, watching it open. And the funny thing was, it opened in the August and September time, ready for the season. And we started taking bookings for the Christmas. And the chairman, Martin George, who is an arsehole, said, and don't quote me, said we couldn't have any knives and forks and plates and cups and saucers, even though we're starting taking Christmas bookings, because the club couldn't afford it. And I thought, well, how can you run a function room? How can you run a new stadium without all that lot? Anyway, I thought, sod it. I went and bought the stuff anyway. But that was the actual thing I enjoyed most. The new Carling stand, £7 million worth of investment, and everybody had the benefit of a brand new place.
Amazing. Tech guys in the room, Craig, Chris, is there a way to divert that phone line to my office? I know it's a bit old now, but is that still a thing? Can we just divert that? Stop, Tom man, thank you very much, thank you. One of your first forays into business was running 6 petrol stations at the grand old age of 21. Just tell us, how was that experience, and did that kind of set you up for a good future in business, do you think?
Well, my mother and father had no go in them at all. They didn't really want to do anything in business. My father worked at the factory, my mother worked in the co-op. And I had a brother who's just as bad as those two. And I thought to myself, I don't really want to go down that route. I want to do something on my own, and I want to have a business. And I was at university in Nottingham, because I was born in Nottingham Trent University. I was studying there in the day, in the evening time, and Jet Petroleum had these franchises, and I started with one, and I thought, well, I've never done petrol before, but I can, I was a good marketeer in those days, and in my young days, I was a good salesman, and I took this petrol station on in Nottingham, and then within 12, 18 months, I had 6. The thing was, in those days, and this goes back a long time, folks, but many of you weren't even born then, those days, jobs were plenty, and it's very hard to find people. I can always remember my mother popping down to the petrol station to bring me my dinner, because I've been there since 7 o'clock in the morning and I was still there till 11 o'clock at night, because sometimes your staff didn't turn in. You had to man the station 18 hours a day. So I worked 18 hours a day, but I was also doing university. But my brother then came in and joined me, and we took more and more on, and we took 6 on within a space of just over 12 months. And I had 6 petrol stations and 40 staff, nearly the age of 22. Incredible. I enjoyed it, and it's put me on the right footing to go forward.
Amazing, thank you.
Brilliant. Well, one of my questions perhaps feeds into that, which is, for me, perhaps selfishly, what advice would you be giving to sort of young professionals starting out right now in business?
Well, one of the things I do currently is I actually coach university graduates, those in universities. I do in Nottingham and Manchester, and I help them in business leadership and management, and they do mainly sport and that sort of thing. But I think it's important, if you're going to go into any business or go into work, is to be organised, structured, very, very good at administration, be able to think on your feet, research anything. I mean, every business I've run, and I've run 4 or 5 different football clubs across the time, I've had my own agency, I've done other things as well, it's to have a proper business plan and proper marketing plan, have a proper structure, and set out your goals, set out where you want to go. Look at the financials, look at the competition, look at the marketplace, and see where you're going to fit in. And I always say to myself is, what is our USP? What is his USP? Because you all need a USP to be different from somebody else. But I think good research, good planning, a good team of people. I've always had good teams of people around me in management, people that are loyal, dedicated. I've looked after them, I've paid them well, and I've shared my vision. And one thing I think is important if you're going to go into business at any time on your own is to have good people around you, but look after them and involve them in the decision making and talk about all the things you want to do so they actually are consulted and feel part of the team. And I think communication today is not as good as it was when I was a lot younger. The communication today is poor, in my view, because some of the clients I've got don't even talk to each other, never mind communicate. So communication's vital, but go for it, put something together, make sure it sticks, and go for it. Don't mess about. And I've done lots of things on back of fag packets, but I've actually wrote a business plan as well. But I've done the research to go with it to make sure it stacks up. And if anybody wants any help out there any time, just give us a call. I'm quite happy to come and talk to you and help you, and I won't charge you. Okay.
Very kind, Barry, thank you. Obviously, during your time, you owned an agency, not too dissimilar to me. What are the main ways you think agency work has changed over the years, over the decades, do you think?
Well, when I had my agency in the early 2000s in Leicester, we didn't have social media and digital marketing then, and I think that's a lot of things have changed. Our agency was an advertising, marketing, PR agency, and we did traditional marketing, as I call it. We had mail shots and brochures, and we designed all things like that, advertising campaigns. I mean, today you've got digital marketing, you've got podcasts, you've got social media. They weren't around then in those days, or if they were just starting. When I had my agency, I only had my agency for 4 years, and I had to leave it because my mother was dying, and I had to go and look after her in Nottingham. So I passed it on to my colleagues who work with me. But I think agencies have changed a lot over the years, and you've got to be on the ball. You've got to go above and beyond what your clients want. You've got to deliver what you say you're going to deliver, and you've got to be very competitive. And I think you've got to go that extra mile. And I think also coming up with fresh ideas, because when I had clients, I was constantly thinking of fresh ideas for them to make their business more successful through the advertising, marketing and PR that we offered them. Clients don't know what they want. You have to lead them there. You have to show them, and you have to convince them this is what they want. Because some of them spend hours and hours dithering and they can't make their mind up. So I used to lead them to the right direction, and then 9 times out of 10, they were pleased what they got from us. And my agency started. It was already there when I bought it. It was almost bankrupt then. And I went to Nottingham Trent, not Nottingham Trent. I went to Leicester Montfort University to pitch for £1 million business. And I thought, we've got some big boys here from London. And I thought, what can I do to be different? And this is about talking about USP. And if you ever go into these public sector places and these universities, they're a bit la-di-da, aren't they, sort of really? So there was 4 women sitting in a row. And I took one of my colleagues in with me and I said, just follow me. And I thought, what am I going to do to be different? So I stood up and I sang to them. I sang a song. And they were so impressed by my singing and then all the things we're going to do for them, I won the £1 million job above London agencies, the London agencies. So there you are. It goes with me nuts and me debt collecting. I can't remember. It was something quite humorous and they thought it was funny because they sat there with 4 straight faces and I thought, I must give them a song, I sing them a song. And I just stood up and sang this song and they clapped anyway, which is even better. They didn't throw me out. And then I did my presentation and my pitch. But they said they liked the idea of a friendly, small, local business they could work with, where some of the big boys from London had come and other agencies around the country had come to pitch with this. I think 6 of us pitched and we got the job. I was really chuffed about that. You know.
That's brilliant. I was about to ask you if there's anything else in your career you'd still like to achieve. I assume your singing days and naked debt collecting days are behind you. Say yes.
Well, I'm game for anything, really. I mean, after 40 years of doing lots of things in my time, not just for football, but agencies and, you know, being on other people's boards of directors as non-exec directors and you know, I've done work for the Tigers and Leicester County Cricket Club and I did work for other organisations. I don't know really. I think I've done a lot of things in my time and then you look back for 40 years. I mean, I was only thinking about this tonight. When I was in my 20s, I could always remember we had telex machines and fax machines and the old telephones came out, the big brick things that used to have the mobile phones. I had those in the 80s when I worked down south in Bath and, you know, life's changed a lot. I think I've done enough, to be honest, and I'm game for anything, and if anybody wants anything, I'll work with them, because I do work with lots of different people. I like the challenge of growing a business and taking it from one stage to the next. I spent a year working for a company in Grantham. It's a father and son business. Could they get on? They couldn't get on. They manufactured furniture. And the son worked in Leicester in the shop and the father worked in Grantham in their manufacturing place. And I spent a whole year refereeing for these 2 people, keeping them apart because I'm going to beat the shit out of each other. And after 12 months, when I found out that I really wasn't going anywhere with these 2, I said, look, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money, and I'm getting fed up of coming here just listening to you 2 falling out and arguing, so cheerio. And they would never listen to anything you did. You gave them all the right advice and they didn't take it. Now, to me, that's a waste of time. But I'll help anybody, and I do help anybody, and I like a challenge. So anybody wants me to do anything with a challenge, I'm up for it.
Love that. We might get you to sing naked later on. Final question from me, Barry, and I hope you take the wording of this in the nicest light. What was it that has attracted you to publishing at this stage in your career? Which is underlined. I'm not too sure why, but
it's not underlined. Don't fucking lie. It's not. I can see the paper. You can see it at the end.
It's not. So what's got you in? What's attracted you to the publishing world?
Well, I published when I was younger, and after I came out of the petrol stations, and I published those magazines, like I said, and we had 6 magazines, county magazines, the glossy ones and the business ones, and Robert Maxwell, who was a media tycoon at the time, and he owned, I think, one of the big newspaper groups, he bought my business off me, but he never paid me the full amount because he was a fucking robbing bastard. And but I did publishing then, but when COVID came, somebody came to me, a football fan at Leicester City, and said, would you be interested in writing a book about your time at Leicester City? And I said, well, it was nearly 20 years ago since I was there, or 18 years ago. And he said, well, I think you've got an interesting story to tell. So he sat me down and I said, as long as it's not just about me, it's about everybody at the club who was successful, and we get as many contributors as possible, because there's about 40 people in that book talking about the whole 10 years at Leicester City. And I said I'd do it. And I don't want anything controversial, because people may know that Martin O'Neill and I didn't get on. I tried to get on with him. He didn't want to get on with me, but that's another matter. There's a big problem there. But anyway, we did this book. It took us a year to write it, for him to write it, and I sat down giving him all the information. And then he said to me, would you be interested in forming a business? I said, well, I suppose so. He said, I've got other people that might be interested in having books written. And we did Julian Joachim's, Gary Mills. We've done quite a few different people's books. We've done about 20 in the 5 years. So as a little part-time business, we did the publishing through COVID, and then we've done it for 5 years. We've put about 20 odd books out, but it was only part-time. So that's how I got it back into publishing again. But my main thrust is management consulting and business consultancy, which I enjoy. I enjoy helping companies, turning them around, restructuring them, growing them, or recruiting for them, or whatever. That's what I enjoy doing. I enjoy seeing a business grow, but I'm still doing the publishing, and I've got 6 questions to ask in a minute, so I can give 6 books away.
Wow, well, thank you very much. Round of applause for Barry, everyone. Round of applause. So you're very eager to ask those 6 questions. Barry, Games Master, please do ask those 6 questions.
Right, this is the first question. Very quickly, I'll be very quick. Which university or polytechnic did I go to? Somebody? Who said that? Nottingham Trent. 1 book for you. I'll sign on later.
Throw it.
I said that I was a non-exec director of a hospital in Leicester. Which one was it? Who? Glenfield Hospital. Yeah, book for you.
I'll keep that for you.
I said I started Leicester City in what month in 1991? Bug off. What was my office? Who's my office before me? Who said that? There's your book.
Oh.
Book for you. Right, 3 more. I did say to you, what could I smell coming under the floor? Gas. Who said that? That's yours. There you are. I've got 3 more to go. Where's the other person's book? That one's there.
That's Maisie's.
Right. I was at Leicester City for how long?
20 years.
Nearly 10 years. That'll do. Can we get your book? For sure.
There's Maisie's. Are you coming up, Maisie? Are you coming up? There you go. There you go. That's yours. So that's yours.
I've got 2 more to go. 3 more to go. Who's it? Well, for the other person down there. Take it to the right. So, 2 more to go. Who knows what the mascot was called? Who said that? Yours. And last but least, who was the chairman of Leicester City when I was there? Who? Yours. Right, thank you.
Hold on, that's you work together. That's cheating. Oh, that's very kind of you, Barry. Thank you. And please do hold on to your copies. Barry will hang around at the end to sign them. Well, look, Barry's on the stage. Barry's in the hot seat. Do any of you have any questions for Barry? I'm going to give...
I don't care what it is. You can ask me anything.
Ask anything. Connor? Yes, please, over to you.
So Barry, you mentioned that you think communication has deteriorated in businesses over the years. Do you mind me asking why you think that is, or potentially what the cause of that might have been?
I think the trouble with the communication is too many people make assumptions that they've done things, or they thought this was going to happen. And what I've found in my 15, 16 years in management consultancy, when I go and talk to businesses, is that they are doing things without consulting or communicating with their staff below them what's going on. And you talk to the staff, because I do business audits as well, where I go around and find out all the issues and problems in a business, and you tend to find that the people at the top of the tree don't talk to the people below. Not in all cases, because I know they do it here, and I did it with my businesses, but a lot of people don't communicate internally very well, and people don't communicate externally very well. And if you look at the big boys today, the big boys of the energy companies and all these sort of telecoms companies, they don't do it very well either. I'm fed up of sitting on a phone trying to get through to somebody and talking to half a dozen different people or pressing different buttons and that's not good communication. It's all bad. And I think years ago, you could talk to a bank manager. You go and sit and talk to a bank manager. Years ago, people would talk to each other and pick up the phone and talk to each other. Now, nobody talks to anybody. And I think the communication, and that's how the communication breaks down. Too many people are texting and not talking. And that's the trouble with today's society. And I go into a lot of businesses where people feel they're neglected. They don't feel anybody's talking to them. They're not sure what's happening in the company. And you get the bosses sitting on the 5th floor and the people on the 1st floor don't know what's going on in the company. And that's bad. That's very bad. And they're too distant. And I think that's what's happening today. Communication is not as good as it was years ago when I was your age, when it was shit hot.
Thanks for the question, Connor. Any other questions for Barry at all?
I don't care what it is.
Go on then, Steph. Thanks for the question, mate.
I'm asking on behalf of a friend of mine
Yeah.
who knew I was coming tonight. So my friend has been self-employed for about 10 years. He's got a good bank of clients that he lives off. Has an okay living, but my friend recently turned 50, which obviously can't be me. Can it? Obviously.
It was a great party, by the way, mate.
It was at his house, yeah. And so this person at the age of 50 is starting to become a little disillusioned with selling and growing a business, and it's getting harder and harder. So what advice could you give my friend to keep motivated the older you get to grow a business?
I think there's a couple of things there. I think you've got to either want to do your business and do it proper, and is he on his own? Is it just nobody else working with him, just himself?
Just on his own.
Yeah. Well, where does he get his inspiration from? How does he bounce ideas off anybody? How does he get motivated when you're on your own? Working on your own is very hard to be motivated because you can actually become a little, in your own shell and you can't be bothered. And I think it's important that you have other people you can bounce ideas off, other people to help you get motivated. I do a lot of motivational stuff with people because, at that age, he's got to be still motivated because he's not going to retire till he's, 60 or 65 unless he's making millions of pounds and he can sell his business. Or if he's got a successful business but he can't be arsed with it, why don't he get somebody to come in and run it for him? Somebody who can run the business for him, take it to the next level, give them something, as a reward or payment for taking it to the next level, some shares or some profit sharing or whatever, and do that sort of thing. I think it's dangerous to be running a business at 50 and not having that motivation because you can tend to go backwards, you'll then start slipping, you just can't be bothered, and all of a sudden things will go tits up if you're not careful. So I think he's either got to get somebody to help him become motivated, ask him to come and talk to me and I'll talk to him and I'll motivate him. Or he finds somebody to help him run his business for him and he just takes a back seat and lets him get on with it.
Can we set up a meeting between your friend and Barry, do you think?
That's quite a good answer. Yeah, I probably need to sort the shit out, don't I?
You may. Any other questions at all? Can I, if you don't mind, and I apologise, I've forgotten your name. Rebecca, thank you, Rebecca. Can we perhaps hand the microphone to Rebecca? Because this is turned into a very budget version of This Is Your Life. Because can you just remind everyone in the room your working relationship? So did you work under Barry, is that correct?
Yes, but as a part-time person who just worked there on match days. But obviously, Barry's a big personality, so we all knew him.
Well, it's more than just because he seemed to remember you.
I know, I don't know why.
Yeah. The question I've got, have you got any embarrassing stories about Barry at all?
No, annoyingly not. Not one. It's really annoying, isn't it? I really wish I had.
It is.
Make something up if you like.
No, please, by all means, we'll play another game. But thanks for coming, Rebecca. And it's lovely to see an older connection be joined together, I guess. So thank you so much for that. But Barry, honestly, you've been absolutely great today. Your pre-match talk was fun. We were chuckling in the background, some of the stories. We had no idea what you were going to be talking about. And you were great throughout. So should we give him another thing?
Sure.
It's only a small thing. which I tell all my dates. But I'd like to give you a little gift as a thank you for coming on the show tonight. Now, you made a little comment the other day that you might be a whiskey fan. Please say yes. Yeah, okay, thank God for that. So Sophia and I have bought you a little bottle of whiskey just as a thank you for getting involved tonight. How's that sound?
That's very kind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barry. Round of applause again for Barry. Thank you, Barry. And you get the smoke machine. Was that you, Molly? Well done. I like that. So we're coming on to it. We're slowly wrapping up. Is that right? I'll be honest, I've completely forgot the running order. Say again? 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
So we were going to have an open confessional with everyone. We wanted to hear the dirty, the rude. We wanted to hear about the colleagues bonking in the staff room.
Yeah.
No, staff room. Where was it?
Stock room.
Stock room. Sorry. We want to hear about the time one of your colleagues went to Tesco to buy £500 worth of gift cards. We wanted to hear the rude.
She's not here today.
She's not here. She's not here. So just to kind of let people on the inside joke, we've had two colleagues that have twice now. Sorry, Connor, is that too much smoke, mate? Sorry. that have now gone on my behalf to go get £500 worth of gift cards from Amazon, from Tesco. Has anyone got any stories they want to share? Obviously, you can try and remain anonymous. Steph, do you have the bag we can put on someone's head if they want to kind of conceal their identity? You've got a Bella Ramsey bag.
You gave me earlier the Bella Ramsey bag. Yeah.
Where have you put it?
Put your head in Bella Ramsey.
Yes.
I will say, poor Molly, and I know for a fact, she's been messaging you all for weeks, trying to get these stories out of you, and you could have remained anonymous, and a lot of you chose not to volunteer your stories. So I feel like that's your punishment now, is getting put in the hot seat, and I want to see some hands going up, quite frankly.
If not, we pick on you,
Yeah.
and it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Lucy, can we hook the microphone back up to Michael? The good-looking one on the back row there. So, Michael, forgive me, can you just remind everyone in the room who you are, what you do, who you represent, please?
No. I'm used to holding a microphone, Rob, and you know I am, so tough luck. So I'm Michael, I'm the Chief Executive for Leicester Comedy Festival and the UK Kids Comedy Festival.
Amazing. And you've just announced your events for the coming year, is that right? Have you got a good lineup? Who are the best acts to look out for in 2025?
I think Rob's stand-up course was scheduled to run a little bit too late, so he's missed the deadline. But I'm sure his set will be great when he bothers to turn up. Good lineup in 86 days time. Not that I count the days. There's a very, very handy reminder on my website to just give me a sense of dread at all times. 2 weeks ago we launched the programme. It's 19 days of comedy throughout February across Leicestershire. So no excuses for those people that don't live in Leicester City Centre. It's everywhere in Leicestershire. So.
Absolutely, and a great thing. And there's someone we want you to help us with, which we'll talk about in a second, maybe. But surely you've seen comedians maybe in their worst states behind scenes. Have you got any? You don't have to name names. You got any embarrassing stories? Anything shocking stories that you can share with us?
I once served. In a past life, I was a venue manager in Melton Theatre in Melton Mowbray.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, someone has to do it, unfortunately. And our USP was obvious with the link of the Melton being the rural capital of food. We would serve everyone that visited a pork pie on arrival. And a very well-known comedian may well have been, unbeknownst to me, very vegan. So that's not the best starting point when you're trying to impress said comedian. So they have had a lovely Stilton-topped pork pie hand-raised that morning from a local proprietor of said pork pies. So that's my fail for you, and I'm more than happy to own up to it. They did, however, smash the night, so maybe they had a little cheeky little bite before they went on stage, but we'll never know. So.
Mate, well, off mic, off camera, you can tell us who that was. We do have a cheeky favour to us. We're about to launch a campaign. Is campaign a strong word?
I don't know.
We spoke about it in there the other day.
What did you say?
We want to get a top name on the show. We've had some fantastic guests. We've had some fantastic guests, some great guests. To be fair, we should probably talk about some of the people that aren't in the room. We've had Steve Walsh Leicester City captain, Leicester City legend, still the record holder for
Most red cards.
Yeah, in the Premier League. We've had Lucy Kay, who is a Britain's Got Talent finalist and has gone on to do great things on cruise ships and everything else in between. Of course, we've got Matt Glover, again, with his book, Where the Fuck is My Dining Table? And we've had recently Gavin Taylor with his wonderful product, Dot and Lola, as well. But we want some big names. One of the big names, and I'm going to really rely on you this, I can pay you 20 quid and a crunchy if you can make it happen. Okay? We want Bob Mortimer. We want Bob Mortimer over anyone.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair campaign to put forward. Do you have ties to Bob?
I mean, that sounds very illegal, Rob, the way you've stated that with £20 and a crunchy involved. Have I got to use the time? I think I'll talk to Barry about alternative methods of how to make that work for you, but we'll see what we can sort for you, Rob. You know,
thank you very much.
We'll always help you out.
Thank you very much. I can upgrade to a boost bar. I'm not double-decker. Is
that on success? Or is that...
a little bonus if he comes on.
I've fallen for your sales tricks before, Rob.
Damn it. It's the sales suit. That's the issue, isn't it? That's the issue. Well, look, we're going to slowly wrap up there. I think we're going to slowly wrap up. What's coming next for the podcast, Sophia?
So we have a few Christmas specials coming out, and also to round off season 1, which will be sitting at about 70 episodes by the time we enter the new year, we're going to do an awards night. So any of you that have been guests, keep a lookout, because we are thinking between ourselves who's going to be winning those all important prizes, and we've of course got an award voted for by all of you, our keen listeners. So that's what we've got on the docket, and then we are accepting applicants. Isn't the right word? Because it will take anyone. Guests for season 2.
We are. We're going to start sort of planning for season 2. So if you do have a great story that you want to share and you want to come onto the podcast, please do send us an email, drop us a DM, just
absolutely
punch me outside, let me know. We'll get you on for next season. The key thing is what we've recognised is there's so many of you listening. We were in the top 10 rated podcasts. Once again, not so many happy faces when I say that. Top 10 rated business podcasts in Malawi.
Yeah. Big over there.
Yeah, thank
you. That's what they do.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you. We are big time.
We are. Where's Malawi? We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll give it a go. But we want to be big time here in the UK. There's many of you that listen to the podcast. It is available on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, everywhere else, yeah. Please do hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button. If you've never listened to the podcast, listen to it on the way home. I promise you it's just about as funny as what we've done tonight, maybe, if thereabouts. We've had some great guests, everyone from, like I say, Steve Walsh, from Matt Glover, and hopefully Bob Mortimer in the new year. I'm going to take out the word hopefully. And Bob Mortimer in the new year is what I should say. Before we do wrap up, there is a big thank you I want to give to someone.
The biggest thank you of the night, I think.
Because this person does a lot for the podcast. They put up with my shit.
And my shit.
Yes. They very much go thankless at times.
Yeah, an unsung hero, I think.
And at times we put so much pressure on this individual. She just takes it like water off a duck's back and absolutely smashes it.
Connor's upset because he thought it was him.
Connor's priming himself. But just for a few moments, I would like to welcome to the stage our producer, the one, the only, Molly Hill.
Molly,
come on up. Come on up, Molly. Come on. Come on. If not, Mike. No, she's coming. She's going. Round of keep the applause going.
She's never been angrier in her whole life.
Come on up. Come on up. Well done, Molly. We've not got. Have we got that microphone? Sorry. Molly, welcome to the show. No, it's okay.
Why did you not tell me about this?
I'll squat here.
Molly's fuming. She's going to delete the footage.
I'm just going to squat here like a 1970s BBC presenter. Hi, Molly.
Hi.
Hi. So, Molly, tell everyone the kind of stuff that we make you do.
She's like, everything. I do everything.
Not those bits.
Filming, editing, producing. Yeah. I'm not prepared to speech, guys.
Just to be clear, Molly puts in a lot more work into these podcasts than I think sometimes we give her credit.
Yeah.
Just to make everyone aware, we release 2 podcasts every week. Every podcast takes about an hour, maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours actual production, and then there's maybe another 2 to 3 hours post-production that goes into it, plus marketing on top. We put a lot of effort into those. A lot of it is driven by this incredible person right here, and the show wouldn't be where it is. We wouldn't be in the top 10 in Malawi, Molly, without you. Okay. Now, I know I've thrust you into the limelight, which isn't a nice thing, okay, but we couldn't end the night without saying thank you. So, just as a thank you, I'd like you to take this bottle of British sparkling wine.
Thank you.
There you are. Round of applause, everyone, for Molly. Thank you very much. There we go. Thanks, Molly. You should have put the smoke machine as you came on.
Yeah, come on.
Well, look, shall we start to maybe wrap
Shall we?
the night up, do you think? Has everyone had a good night? Good. Slight delay.
Slight delay.
But look, honestly, it gives us immense pleasure to kind of sit in front of you to do this. Like I said, when we set the podcast up, it was Sophia and I huddled around a horrible little mic.
In your office.
In my office, with some horrible, foam pads to try and muffle the sound a little bit. And here we are with, nearly 80 episodes in.
Yeah.
Got a great crowd of you in today. We've got a great listener base in Malawi. And hopefully soon Uganda as well. But thank you so much for everyone coming tonight. We, in just a moment, are going to hand back over to the man, the myth, the legend, Connor van Dijk. But once again, I want to say a massive thank you to Barry Pierpoint. Round of applause, please.
Barry.
To Barry. I suppose we should go.
Shall we?
But please do check the podcast out. Thanks so much for coming tonight. We're going to mingle for another couple of moments. We'll hand back over to Connor and enjoy your evening. Thank you
so much for coming.